Hello there. Welcome to a Dribble of Ink YouTube channel for calligraphers. Today we're going to be talking about guidelines. Guidelines are a lot of fun. Well, guidelines will make your stuff look really awesome, and you'll have a lot of fun when people tell you how awesome your stuff looks. So, by principle of transversalness, guidelines are a lot of fun. So, I've just got two pieces to show you to illustrate what guidelines can do to your work. This one is a quote by Pink Floyd, or sorry, a lyric by Pink Floyd. I messed up that part. That should say 10 right there, but I'll have to deal with that. It says, and then one day, well, I don't want to sing it, just look up the song, I think it's Time by Pink Floyd, and that's a great lyric. Another great lyric. Modest Mouse from their song, I think Little Motel. Also not going to try to sing it, I wouldn't do it justice. And these two both use guidelines. They use different types of guidelines. The main distinction is this one uses ones that I drew myself, this one does not. These guidelines were provided, of course, by this grid in the notebook. It's great for practicing, but when it comes time to make a composition, you can put a lot of work and time, make it look all good, but it's not going to have that professional touch that making it on like actual paper with guidelines and then erasing the guidelines will have. And this will look really good, and it'll look almost like I can do this freehand, which of course I am unable to do without my trusty guidelines. If you don't use guidelines at all, and you don't draw them on in the first place, and you don't use something that already has guidelines, your work will look very, very bad and messy, and maybe the untrained eye will compliment you and say, wow, that's a pretty font, and they should be saying script, by the way, but for the most part, it's going to look pretty bad, and it's going to look a lot better with guidelines. So, I'm hearing a lot about these guideline things, and I'm hearing that I want to make them myself. How do I make them? How big do I make them? How do I use them? Well, I'll tell you, I've got actually a plethora of answers for you, and I'd love to tell you all about guidelines. First step is just find some paper. I think I found this at a local art shop. Sketches Diary, 70 sheets, 117 grammage. I can go into a whole video about paper later, but get some reasonably thick paper that you would think could hold a lot of ink on it, because you're going to need it to. That's obviously white, or not white, you know what I mean, clear, not lined. What you do next is you look into your calligraphy book. You should have some form of a calligraphy guide. This one is the Calligrapher's Bible. I highly recommend it. Online you can download, I can't remember whose, The Art of Calligraphy is also a wonderful reference. And many others will have the same little helpful tips right at the start here, and I'm going to pull it up so you can see it. It'll tell you how many nib heights you want your script to be. This script calls for 2, 4, 6 nib heights high for the minuscule or quote-unquote lowercase lettering. Now, what is that going to look like for you when you're trying to make your script, or trying to make your guidelines? Well, it means you're going to take your nib. Let me get out my... Hold on. Of course, it's under the other composition. I'm going to do this on an index card, and I'll show you why later. You're going to take your nib, and you've got your little nib, and it's 3.8 millimeters, I think, is this one. And you take it, and you make it completely perpendicular to the page, or the edge, and you draw again, and then you go again, that's 4. How many did it say? 6. 5, 6. Index card is not the best thing to draw on. So I'll just make a little note that that's 4 for myself. And that's how high your stuff should be. I mean, I've already done it over here and it looks a lot better. Where basically you can see we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nibs width high. And that'll tell you how tall you want your guidelines to be. So I take my little post-it note, or not post-it note, sorry, index card, and I take out my handy-dandy ruler, and let's say I want to start it right here. Take my ruler, line it up just as I want it, and then with my pencil, and it's important that it's with a pencil, you lightly draw your line. You want this line to be light enough so that when you're done with your composition you can go back and erase it, and you can't see it, but you also want it to be pretty visible. I don't know if it's... Maybe if I turn this light off... No, it's not working very well. Hold it up, maybe you'll be able to see it. there's a line stretching along right there, and that's your top guideline. Then you take this, line it up, and because this nib, or this script called for only 6, I'll go 2, 4, 6, and use this bottom one as my other guideline. And then generally I'm right now using the method of just try to make them look pretty parallel, but you may also want to compare it to the other end and see how wide it is. So let's see how I did. 2, 4, 6. So I made it a little bit bigger at this end than at this end, but for the purpose of demonstrating, it should stay reasonably consistent. So now that you've got these two heights, oh, also, one last thing you may want to add is if you're doing capitals, which I would love to do because capitals are so much fun. You take this and you maybe go up an extra couple of nib widths. Only 2 is not very much, so I probably should have gone up a lot more, but that was an extra 2 nib widths up. So let's say I want to do some phrase, something like a dribble of ink. The way you do this is the A is a capital. I'll take out my book, move some of this stuff over to the side of my desk, find the capital I want to do. A little italic swash looks pretty nice. And then I just go ahead and write using that. And you can see here, is that actually 6 high? 2, 4, 6, it was. And the whole idea with this, let me pull it up again because you probably can't see the lines, is that the top of it, top of this one, goes up to the top part of that top guideline. This is not focusing, is it? I mean, you can see it right there. Where the top part of it touches the top, the bottom part touches the bottom. And for this one, you go from the middle height, top touches the top, the bottom touches the bottom. And you write like that, and then for basically the body of the letter stays in the middle. So if you've got something like a Y, just try to keep the body of the letter in the middle. That's kind of rough. Oof. Terrible. Try and fix that a little bit, salvage what I can from it. Oh well. But again, the whole idea is that the body of it will stay within the lines, and any tails or extra things going up, extra things going down. On the F, you'll keep it a little bit longer than normal. But everything stays inside here, and that'll make things look really good. So I hope this was helpful to any beginners, because especially on the calligraphy communities, when you post stuff and you don't use guidelines, it's going to be noticed, and guidelines will really help you get everything looking consistent and in line, and it'll make it look a lot more professional. Now, if you're new to calligraphy and you don't want to really write guidelines and you want to just go straight at it, you can pick up something like this, where it's got grids, and it'll make writing really fast, and it'll make a lot of fun for practice, but it's not going to get that same professional look that you're going to get from drawing your guidelines. So I'd suggest practicing early and often your guidelines, creating them quickly, and it'll become a routine, just like taking your nib out and if you have a dip nib, dipping it, that kind of a thing.